Are you tired of BRs? They've become a popular genre over the last 5 to 10 years. Whether it's Fortnite, which took the world by storm, PUBG, Apex Legends, or any of a slew of other battle royales, it seems like every gaming company has their own these days. We are here to talk about a new game which has gone into open beta recently that puts a bit of a twist on the BR category. Hey everyone, my name is Radiant, and I play quite a few video games, like many of you. I've been hearing about a new game called Supervive that piqued my interest, so I thought, what's one more at this point? It bills itself as a MOBA BR meets hero shooter. Visually, it certainly reminds me of a MOBA like League of Legends, with the top-down camera angle and fun animation-style graphics. And it certainly has the hallmarks of a traditional battle royale. A shrinking storm forcing players into a tighter and tighter area, and numerous squads duking it out to see which one will emerge victorious. And even though I'm admittedly a little bit tired of the battle royale genre, this one looked entertaining enough that I thought I'd at least give it a shot. Jumping into the game, I figured I'd set a realistic goal for myself. The mission: win a game. If you've played battle royales before, you know that it can be a little difficult to pull off a win. There are usually quite a few players or squads going into a match, and only one can be the champion. Well, at least it's difficult for me. I've put in more than my fair share of hours in Apex Legends, and let's just say I wasn't exactly knocking on the door of Apex Predator at any point. So I decided to break things down into steps to help me achieve my goal. Step 1. The tutorial. Okay, I know how to do this stuff. Just follow along with the video and move with WASD and... Oh, I'm not actually controlling the character. Oh, I see how this works. We're just going to watch all of these and then play through the tutorial after. Alright, so I don't love that, because the whole point of a tutorial is to explain the basics of your game to someone with little to no prior knowledge of how these things work. And instead of breaking things down into bite-sized chunks for you to try before moving on to the next one, they just give you all the information at once and expect you to remember it. It would have been nice to do a little movement after they teach you about WASD, then do a little shooting, and so on. That's not my favorite way of doing this, but it's not the end of the world either. So now that the tutorial is done, let's move on to the next step in completing our mission. Step 2. The first match. We pick our hero. In Supervive they're called hunters, and we can also see what our teammate is picking. Then up in the top left, we can see some of our starting gear. I really like how it defaults to a recommended option, because I have no idea what's going on, and this way the game can save me from myself. Once the hunter selection phase ends, we drop in from these pods. Your drop leader will pick a point on the map, and once the ship is in range, you get blasted toward the planet. You can separate from your leader early to slightly influence where you land by using the WASD keys. This is all decently commonplace for BRs. Although, like I said, I do really like the recommended gear option. And right off the bat, I'm really liking this little dude's flamethrower. It feels like I'm really putting in work on this creep camp and... Oh, that's another player. Whoops, sorry teammate, Well, I'm glad at least one of us knows what they're doing. Okay, so I like that I don't need to loot guns and equipment in order to actually play the game. And as you level up, you can pick which ability you want to unlock or upgrade. Again, a lot like League and other MOBAs out there. Found some items, though I have no idea what they do. Killed some more creep camps, and fought some more players. And got run over by a train. Huh. Well, all in all, it was a pretty fun first match. Sure, we didn't win, but I didn't expect to. Now that we've gotten absolutely demolished, including being run over by a train, let's learn a little more about the game's mechanics. Step 3. items, and powers. When you're not in a match, you can see a series of tabs at the top of your screen. These cover your basic progression, a list of all the hunters and their abilities, your cosmetics, match history, and the store. You can also see that there's a learning tab. I actually really like that they have a suggested progression for learning about the game. It starts with watching videos, some of which we saw during the basic tutorial, but many that I hadn't looked at yet, then moves on to practice, and finally suggests that you jump into a game. In the video section, we can see the basics of movement and shooting like we saw before, but we can also see descriptions of how ability levels work, what equipment drops do and how you upgrade them, and a host of other things that are actually quite useful. You can also exit out of the video section to come back to the General Learning tab. Here we can see text descriptions of exactly what each piece of equipment does, along with all of the powers, exotics, which are basically rarer, stronger powers, consumables, storm shifts, which modify each match, and soul buffs, which are powerful buffs you can get by killing meteor soul bosses within a match. There's a pretty extensive list, and I won't go over all of it here, but I spent some time figuring out which pieces of gear I thought were best for my build, and which powers I should be on the lookout for within a match. I really like how easy they make learning about the game, even if I didn't love how they structured the tutorial earlier. And now that we've broadened our knowledge of some of the game's core mechanics, items, and abilities, it's time to move on. Step 4. Finding the right hunter. There are currently 5 categories that all the hunters fall into: Fighter, Initiator, Frontliner, Protector, and Controller. I'm typically drawn towards controllers in most games like this, but I figured giving them all a shot on at least one hunter from each category was a great place to start. I wasn't really trying to find an OP hunter. I've always felt that the best method in most games is finding the character that fits your style. Not only does their kit feel more intuitive, but you'll have a lot more fun and be much more motivated to play and actually improve. In the end, I narrowed things down to 2 hunters, 1 controller and 1 frontliner. Hudson, our controller, has really strong damage output when holding down his right mouse button and firing his primary gun. He also has really good area denial with his Q ability and the threat of his ultimate, both of which can slow enemies, and his ult can even drag people in if they're below 30% health. Felix, our frontline pyromaniac, does direct damage with his flamethrower, but can also stack up damage over time with his main weapon as well as his abilities. His Q pulls in enemies and gives him a shield, and his ultimate allows him to fly forward, leaving a trail of fire and actually traveling a pretty great distance before it ends. After playing a few games on each, I surprised myself when I found that I liked our frontliner over the controller. And now that we've gone over the basics of the game, gotten our feet wet with our first match, delved into what types of equipment we'll see, and chosen the hunter who calls to us the most, there's only one thing missing. Step 5. Pure luck. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we all know that luck, or RNG, does play a role in nearly all games these days. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If the best players won every match, the game would quickly become stale and feel predetermined. But not all forms of randomness are created equal. Having a crazy spray pattern on a gun which makes half of your bullets miss doesn't really feel very good. The thing I like about luck in this game is that it's the right kind. Most of the luck or randomness comes down to who you're playing with, where your enemies are, and what items you find along the way. The first 2 can be minimized by playing with a friend or friends and paying attention to where your enemies are dropping when you're in the ship. For the most part, that just leaves equipment. One thing I've always hated about a lot of battle royales is that sometimes you spend 5 to 10 minutes running around trying to find the best gear you can, only to take one fight and instantly get eliminated. Or maybe even worse, you land next to another squad, only to have them pick up a shotgun while you've got 2 stacks of sniper ammo, and they one-tap you back to the lobby. This game doesn't have that, because each hunter has a fixed weapon and specific abilities, with their primary weapon being unlocked by default. This means that you stand a fighting chance as soon as you drop in every single game. And any items you find along the way, while some are powerful, only serve to enhance your hunter's inherent kit. So we played a few more games, thinking each time, maybe this one will be the one. Close call after close call, finishing in the top 5 and the top 3 numerous times, I knew we were getting close. And finally, putting our skills to the test, and yes, getting a little lucky with a very good teammate, we managed to pull out our first win. At the end of the day, I felt this game was actually quite fun. That's the first thing I look for in a game. Is it fun? I know a lot of us can get caught up in competitive matchmaking. I myself find a lot of enjoyment in climbing the ranked ladder in games I play. But at the most basic level, the game itself should be fun. And on that most essential requirement, Supervive absolutely delivers. I found myself having a hard time turning the game off to make this video. So if you're looking for another battle royale to try, and even if you're not, I say give Supervive a go. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of content, leave me a like below and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.